Welcome, everybody, to the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. I'm your host, Adam Amy, joined as always by my co-host, Russell Gibson. Russell, how are you?
Very good, mate. How are you today?
I'm great. We've had basketball-wise, not a whole lot happening, but we went and bought some cards over the weekend and
We did.
had a day out.
Went to our LCS.
Yes. Went down and said hello to some of the guys down at Cherry. Well, specifically Dale. I don't know if we should really shout out Dale. Dale probably went and murdered someone yesterday. So I believe Richmond lost. Yeah, he probably didn't have a great day. Before the footy, he had a good day because he saw us. After the football is when things went bad. So we did forget. We probably should have asked Dale while we're at the store if he'd like to come on the show for a chat. But after I've just taken the piss out of Richmond, we probably
he's not
so
interested.
much.
Yeah, he's unavailable.
Yeah. No, but we picked up a couple of goodies while we were out. I think I spent a net total of $10. You might have spent a little bit more, but I believe you got a chase piece that you're after.
Yeah, look, I've had my eye on this card for a little while, and I think part of what's happening at the moment is there are some bigger cards that have slid down, quite a lot. And there's some cards that I have in my chase list, and they're in my list, but I may never own them, or I'm not particularly that motivated to own them just because of the price tag. But when some things have come down 50% or more than 50%, sometimes 100% or more than 100%.
The temptation does knock, doesn't it?
Yeah. So why don't I start to look at some of this maybe more expensive stuff or stuff that's lower numbered or PSA 10, start to, see what's out there a little bit. And it does seem to be a bit of a biased market at the moment in terms of people wanting to negotiate with you. And I would say that Dale was very easy to negotiate with, and I think he wanted a deal. So for me, that was wonderful, and it came in less than what my budget was. So again, that's excellent. So
and for the listeners that haven't been on the socials, because everybody that's on Twitter has clearly seen what you purchased. What was your little acquisition yesterday?
It was a De'Aaron Fox sneaker spotlight. So I think it's a pretty special card, and it is something that is definitely going to the vault and won't be coming out. And
nice.
Probably the last thing I was just going to say is that, and maybe this is traditionally something I haven't been great at, but I do spend a fair bit of money in US eBay.
Mm-hmm.
And, maybe I should be spending more time trying to put that money back into Australian Facebook sites or
keep it in the Australian economy, so to speak.
Like our sort of LCS. So I think that was really good to actually be able to make that purchase, at
face to face.
Yeah. And look, to be fair, I sort of made them a few low ball offers on eBay, which, didn't work out. So it sort of took a couple of weeks to get there. But actually, Dale said quite fortuitously that it was about to go into a cherry pie. So I'm glad that we made the effort to get down there and do it. So
it was nice. It was really nice to actually go into a store and flick through cards. I got a couple of little things because I had a chuckle. A nice Kyle Korver card that I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
That we might just, because now we've mentioned it, we can use that card image as, I've got to send you a photo of it so we can use it as the heading for this episode.
Yeah, let's get it up on the socials and definitely.
That was really good. I think, look, I'm looking forward to doing it again. And
yeah, totally.
Probably the next time we'll announce it on the show when we're going to head down to, maybe we'll head down to EJ's. Our newest sponsor, and we'll the week before we go, we'll announce it on the show. So anyone that does want to, come and hang out and maybe trade a couple of cards or ask a question or say hi, can meet us down at EJ's. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be lovely, actually.
Yeah.
And I'd probably also say too, just as a general comment about the volume of people that were in the CBD, like it feels like the city's back because we had that, incredibly long and protracted isolation period because of COVID, and then there was that sort of thing of we're in isolation, we're out of isolation, and people, it seemed to me that weren't really going back to the city. Like the city's really been quiet, even though we haven't had any sort of isolation restrictions. But it was back yesterday. It was bustling, and you had to, wait for trams and stand in line and do all those things that you really haven't had to do for what two and a half years now.
I still want to know what everyone was lining up at the Nike store for.
I'm assuming it was a shoe drop, man. Yeah, I didn't look it up, to be honest. Yeah, yeah.
Everyone was at Melbourne Central. We were too focused trying to get a burger. So
we had our priorities.
But yes, no, it was a really, really nice day in the city. And you're right. After the ghost town that was the Melbourne CBD, I was given the information. Apparently, we're the world's most livable city again.
Yeah, great.
And you can see
we're back.
That we're back, baby. Yeah, Melbourne is. It was nice. It was great, and I'm looking forward to sort of our next venture out.
Yeah, man. Ditto.
That was great.
It'll be good.
Now,
we've got a bit to get through today, haven't we?
We do. We've also got the NBA draft happened.
Yeah, we have to talk about that.
Got to touch on the draft. We're obviously going to have some people that are projecting, making decisions on which rookies they're going to start collecting now, eyeing off. So in 3 years' time, when the sets finally start dropping, that was a crack at Panini for anyone that didn't get it. Yeah, they can start collecting. Maybe 4 years. 4 years' time when the 2022 stuff drops.
I don't know what they're going to do, man.
Look.
Are they going to overlap it and still have sort of like 21, 22 product coming out with 22, 23 sort of laced in there?
I'm waiting for the next couple of Panini releases because I hear Luka Doncic is going to be a guy to collect out of the next lot of products. He's one of the hot rookies, isn't he? I don't think I could be any more sarcastic about Panini's release schedules, could I?
Yeah.
Look, obviously the draft was the big focus. There's a couple of Aussies, which is always good, I guess, for Australian collectors.
It's fantastic. And even for New Zealand, they've done really well too. They had 2 guys go. So,
and what else have we got to discuss? Oh, look, you put a post up a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Asking what everybody thought the LeBron triple Logoman was going to go for.
Yeah.
That auction finished today. So
just a couple of hours ago.
Yep.
So hopefully if we get this podcast up tonight, we'll be the first podcast to
be discussing it. Yeah. Hopefully that'd be great.
That'd be lovely. Yeah.
Look, we've also got Zion Watch.
He's back. We need to touch back in with Zion.
We need to touch back. Look, if we really, really aren't time starved, we've also got what I'm thinking about doing with my PC.
We have to do it, man.
And
we'll make time.
We can do it this week. We can do it in a few weeks. We can do it. I'll still be around to discuss it. And we also have, obviously, if there is time, PSA have released their May stats. So there's
Adam,
a lot to talk about.
We'll make time. It'll be okay.
This is going to be a 3-part, 6-hour podcast, isn't it?
Let's keep it to less than an hour. That's always
all right.
KPI.
Let's do that.
Yeah. Thank you to our sponsor, EJ Cards, a small but motivated company specializing in cards. EJ Cards believe passionately in great bargains and excellent service, which is why they commit themselves to give you the best of both. If you're looking for something new, you're in the right place. EJ Cards strive to be industrious and innovative, offering customers something they want, putting their desires at the top of the priority list. Find EJ Cards at www.ejcards.com.au or shop 394 to 398 Middleborough Road, Blackburn, Victoria, and also find them on Facebook. Thank you very much, EJ Cards, for sponsoring us.
All right, what do we want to kick off with the draft?
Definitely NBA draft. What's your biggest takeaway from the draft?
I have no idea about the draft, about draft night. That's literally my biggest takeaway. Clearly, neither did the Orlando Magic. Didn't a little birdie tell them to just draft a guy that they didn't work out?
Yeah, so I've actually put that as my number one dot point to discuss. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because the Magic actually disclosed that they hadn't brought him in for a workout. So essentially they've drafted a guy that they never even, had him for a workout. So how that Paulo didn't make it into their practice facility and work out with him, that is just absolutely beyond me. I just can't fathom how that could happen. And
well, from both sides, it's like, first of all, why didn't you work the guy out?
Yeah.
But then why did you pick him without working him out?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And the way that Jeff Weltman, who's the president of the Magic, discussed it, he was very laissez-faire about it. And he was on the Ryan Russillo podcast and he spoke to Ryan for like quite a long time. So it's not
Mm.
like he doesn't have time to spend. And he was on NBA TV, talking about this. So I think for me, like, why are you spending your time going on podcasts and not working a dude out? Like, for me, that's just a complete lack of attention to detail. And
that was
the conspiracy theorist in me sort of thinks that they're having a gamble on this guy, that maybe they think he's got the highest upside and they're determining that via analytics, and that essentially they just want to be bad again next year because it's another really good draft coming through. So, and what evidence have I got to support that theory? Well, nothing. But why on earth would you draft somebody that you haven't even met and had in for a workout like that? I'm really, really just perplexed about that. So, to see this guy's progress and to see him, sort of come through the league, I'm definitely going to be watching this with interest, because it almost makes me think that they're tanking from the number one spot in the draft. Like, it's just such a bizarre thing to do. Like,
their friends over in Philadelphia know about the process, don't they?
You have to get this pick right. You can't get this pick wrong. And if you do get it wrong, you're just set back for, potentially 20 years. It's just I have no words. So that's me done on this. What else? Did you want to add anything to the Magic?
No, look, that just shocked me more than anything. Look, Dyson Daniels was an honourable mention. The first
let's talk
Aussie
about Dyson.
Drafted at number 8 by the Pelicans.
Yeah.
And look, I think a lot of people were kind of, there's another Aussie in the draft, so let's get behind it. And that's pretty much like what we're like as Aussies. We're like, who's going to make it into the NBA, and who are we following next? Because, I mean, obviously, Giddey's done well for himself.
Yeah.
Ben Simmons had his moment in the spotlight. I'm not going to talk recent Ben Simmons stuff, but he set the world on fire. And look, we had Andrew Bogut. We've had some good
Aussies go through, definitely.
Yeah. And I think we're really becoming like a bit of a place where NBA prospects can get better playing in the NBL.
Yeah, definitely.
Moving across. So it's always nice to sort of have a chat about the success of local talent.
Yep.
Yeah.
So my takeaway about Dyson Daniels is the guys on Upside High, which is a podcast on the Ringer Network.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't subscribe to the NBA show on the Ringer, I would strongly suggest you do. They do quite a varied. They have different hosts and different shows within the Ringer podcast network. Yeah. So the Upside High one's excellent if you're trying to learn about prospects. So the breakdown essentially on Dyson was that he's not a player that needs the ball to impact the game. And if he's going to be playing between CJ McCollum and Brandon Ingram, he'll fit in between that really well because he can, rebound, he can defend, he can shoot. And interestingly too, the thing that they pointed out, which I thought was very important, is that the shooting coach in New Orleans is essentially the best in the business.
Yeah. And
that the shot mechanics that needs to be fixed on Dyson's shot can be easily corrected by this shooting coach. So that for me is like, that's super juicy because he's essentially a big guy that will be able to shoot, really well from distance and fill in all these different things. So I think, if he's going to be even playing with Zion, that's to me really exciting to see, like a young Aussie big guy, maybe going to the second or third round of the playoffs. Like, to me, that's super juicy.
I really like the idea of another Aussie.
Yeah.
That's been put in a position to win and succeed.
Yeah.
Giddey was given a lot of opportunity last year.
I think he had
in a different sense. I was
going to say, he had personal opportunity, but team opportunity, I don't think that's it.
I think it was his chance to shine, and he did that last year. And that's why I was going to bring that back. Like, Ben Simmons was sort of in the spotlight as the number one option.
Yeah.
Like, there's all different ways, but this is the best probably fit for Dyson.
Yeah.
In amongst this team that's got a lot of there's going to be a lot of focus in a lot of other places.
Yeah.
But I think this gives him a real opportunity to sort of make the most of his career.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I didn't really. I was working with the draft, like on draft day, and I got some notifications. A lot of the notifications telling me that different GMs were idiots. And yeah, I mean, as a Lakers fan, I didn't pay much attention to the draft because we tend to just trade everything away and throw the farm at someone individually later
Yep.
on.
Yep.
So I didn't pay a lot of attention. I know we drafted somebody. I think we picked up some children, some kids of former players afterwards. That was funny. That was the thing I laughed at.
I don't think you drafted those. That was signed for.
That was signed
for your training camp. Yeah. So Scottie Pippen and also
Jr.
Shaq's boy. Yeah.
Sharif O'Neal has agreed to play Summer League. He hasn't signed a 2-way contract though.
Yeah.
So I think the 2-way contract is he'll play for the G League affiliate.
Yeah.
And can be called up by the Lakers. So they've got rights on Scottie Pippen.
Awesome.
Jr. But
that's awesome.
Yeah,
congrats
that was
to
like, congrats to him.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some interesting young stuff that happens. But as far as the main draft night, I think until players start hitting the hardwood, like at what point do you start looking at potential players that you want to pursue? Like, do you watch Summer League and start thinking? I'm just throwing this out as far as a card standpoint.
Well, I'm a hoops tragic, so like if there's basketball on, I'll be watching it.
Yeah.
The other thing too I like to do is, so I've got League Pass, which is an annual subscription, so I can keep watching games that I've missed out on during the year, and I do like to go back and watch classic games, or games where it was really competitive, or someone got 20 rebounds or 50 points. Like that's what I do sort of if I do find some downtime. So for me, I really enjoy that. I think the two things I want to start to do more of is watch a little bit more G League. If I could start to watch, even if I was watching, say, one lot of highlights a week, I'd really like to start to do that. And probably WNBA too, because actually now they've got a highlights package of WNBA on League Pass. So,
oh wow,
yeah, that's something that I'm pretty keen to start doing too. So probably, so for me, when do I start? Well, I'm not stopping.
Okay. So because this is the thing, right? We've just had the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
And it's this lull where we go straight into the draft, free agency.
No, I don't think there's that much lull, man. I think it might only be 1 or 2 weeks until like camps start.
Yeah, and then it's going to be training. It's free agency starts next week, doesn't it?
Yeah, but some of the other camps will start before that. So the way I don't have the schedule in front of me, the way they've got it now, it's almost like a 12-month around the clock thing. Like they don't really have that sort of downtime anymore. So, and then particularly the way that the schedule was, bumped and, pushed and stretched a little bit, it's actually short in the off season. So that's not going to sort of reset itself until next year. They've still got sort of a shorter off season again. So, yeah.
What about as far as appraising some of this new young talent? Like, do you watch the Summer League in order to get a gauge on how these players are going to fit into the systems that they've sort of been drafted into?
Look, I just watch Summer League because I enjoy basketball.
Okay.
Do I value the basketball that's played? Not at all, because like the way that Summer League is not so much like they have players in there that they don't know what their skill sets are. So, for example, if a team runs pick and roll, they might be putting someone who their natural skill is to pick and pop, but the team runs pick and roll, so therefore they're doing pick and roll. Do you know what I mean? So a lot of the basketball there is very sort of like hit and miss. But like, why am I watching it? Oh, it's NBA basketball. It's on. I'm going to watch it. So that's and it's good to see like the young rookies come out. So for example, I'll definitely be watching King Summer League because I want to see Jayden Ivey.
Okay.
And that's probably. Sorry, Detroit Pistons. I'll be watching Detroit Pistons because of Jayden Ivey.
I was going to say, isn't Keegan Murray the first rounder that went to the Kings? I believe one of those tweets about GMs being idiots may have referred to the Kings.
I think that's a Freudian slip for me. Obviously, I've got the Kings on my mind, but the person that I want to watch is Jayden Ivey. So he was projected to go 4th in the draft. He actually slid to 6th.
Yeah.
And ironically, the Pistons were trying their hardest to move up to get him. Okay. And they were looking to, trade pieces, future draft picks. They never had to do it. So that's like for them, that's a massive win. The scouting report on this guy is actually super interesting because essentially all the things that Cade can't do, like get to the rim athletically, defend multiple positions, had that sort of fast twitch muscle movement, all that type of stuff. He can do all of that. Cade can't do all of that. Cade can shoot. Ivey's not the best shooter. So allegedly these two are just going to be like, peas in the pod together. So I can't wait to see these guys going together. And actually, I'm sort of going through a period of time at the moment where I'm super in love with Cade because I've been watching a little bit of Pistons just sort of in my downtime, and I really think this guy is a smart basketball player, and also to the amount of improvement that he displayed this season. I think you do have to acknowledge that. So
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Was it anybody else that sort of caught your eye, or
No, that's it. To be honest, like the top three picks
yeah,
is sort of what I looked at, and then the other thing was Jayden Ivey dropping. I like to
yeah,
note. I like to follow guys who have dropped because they're
mm,
the teams that I'll try and pick up in PYTs. That's sort of
yeah,
something new that I've started to do, which I've really enjoyed doing. That I think you can
yeah.
get some good value out of that. Halliburton fit into that, and I feel like he's been a pretty good purchase.
Pretty good purchase. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing that
Oh,
did take
sorry.
my so I was going to say the thing that did take my attention though. I went through the entire draft list,
Yep.
and I looked at where did prospects come from. So the G League Ignite actually had Dyson Daniels at 8,
Mm-hmm.
Marjon Beauchamp at 24, and Jaden Hardy at 37. So 3 people came from the G League. I
Yep.
think that's a very important development because if you
Oh
think about it,
wow.
the logic of that is actually, to me, almost
Mm.
common sense because they're
Mm-hmm.
going to a place where they're running through pro programs. They've got pro coaching. They've got,
Yeah.
they're playing against essentially NBA players who are just, fringe
Mm-hmm.
NBA players. I think the level of competition is significantly better in the G League than college.
Yeah.
So the fact that, you've got 3 guys coming through in the first, or sorry, 2 in the first round and 1 in the second round, I
Mm.
think that means a lot. The other thing I think we should acknowledge too is 3 guys coming out of the NBL. So
That's true.
Jiang
Yeah.
at 11, Luke Travers at 56, and Hugo Besson at 58. That to me is legitimate.
That's massive props to the NBL. Yeah.
Yeah. The third note I made was about Topps OTE. We spoke about this a couple of weeks ago in terms of, they had product coming out. Interestingly, the ESPN broadcast touched on Topps OTE, actually saying that it's been an unsuccessful program so far, which to me is interesting because it's only a 12-month-old program and they've clearly got a lot of investment dollars into it.
Yeah.
They didn't have anyone drafted, but it seems like now I've read into it a little bit more. They're expecting guys to drop into the draft next year because essentially they're high school players that went into the program this year. So that makes sense.
Okay. So
Yeah.
for really, in order to see what this program yields, we've got to wait another 12 months, really, to the next draft.
Yeah, which is what the plan was. But
Sure.
for some reason, I had in my mind there was guys going to the draft, this year. So
Hey, look, someone could have gone and it would have been big. Now, you've also mentioned there are a couple of forfeited picks.
Yeah. So I didn't actually understand this. And my initial thought was that they didn't want their picks and they just didn't want to take them, which in that like private chat with you, that
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me at all. Like, why don't you pick someone to stash it? But actually, it's part of a punishment deal. So the Bucks
Oh,
lost their
wow.
pick because of that sign and trade deal they did with Bogdanovich. And then,
Wow.
yeah, the Heat lost their pick. And it actually says this: the Heat also engaged in some shenanigans during a delayed free agency period, albeit more successfully. And that had to do with Kyle Lowry. So they lost a
Oh,
pick for
God.
that. And
Yeah.
look, I think, the Bucks losing a pick for
Mm,
Bogdanovich, that's probably worse than what the Heat happened because my
yeah.
recollection was that Bogdanovich then went and signed with the Hawks.
Yeah.
So the Bucks were penalized and didn't get the player. Whereas I think if you played
Mm,
around and got caught for it but kept the player, that's a second round pick. You would probably
yeah.
pay the fine and you'd be quite happy with it. But I think that's quite
Yeah,
a
that's
severe
true.
penalty. Yeah.
True, true. Well, I think, I mean, that kind of penalty is just odd.
That's full on for me.
It's pretty intense, isn't it?
Yeah. What's your
Now,
final thoughts for you on the draft, mate? What do you got?
final thoughts on the draft. Wait and see.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. There are a bunch of players that are now signed that have been given role. They've got rights to these players, so the teams don't have to sign them.
Yep.
But yeah, so a bunch of stuff's happened. Players potentially on new rosters.
Yeah.
We've got free agency looming, and yeah, wait and see. Summer League's going to be exciting. A few players there will want to sort of see how they play. Always interested to watch one of the Aussies play, but yeah, I'm interested to see Orlando's going. I want to see. I think they want to see what they've drafted given they didn't work the guy out. So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's going to be interesting.
It baffles me. That's
Yeah.
yeah. You don't have anything else on the draft?
Look, probably my final thought is about Chet's shot making ability. I think now I've had again a little bit more time to watch some video on him. That seems very powerful, and I think that he's going to help out that Thunder team a lot. Get baskets at the bottom of the shot clock, and say, in fourth quarter possessions when you need baskets. I think that's going to be really good. Why the Magic passed up on that? That's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. And
time will tell on that one, I guess.
Yeah, and Houston publicly said that essentially they stopped scouting the top 3 picks because whoever out of Polo, Chet, and Jabari was left over, they were going to take. And they copped a lot of criticism, for saying that publicly.
But why wouldn't you do that? If you're going to take the best player in the draft, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What you're taking the next available, like the best player available.
Yeah.
So I don't. Maybe announcing it is just not cool.
Well, I think the criticism was that essentially they were being anti-competitive. Like, why would you feel like that? You should have an opinion about this, and you should have, your board.
I'm sure they had a preference as to which one they wanted.
Yeah.
But they were just like, well, it doesn't matter which one we want. We've got the third pick.
Yeah.
So whichever one, yeah.
I like the chemistry between Smith and Jalen Green. I can see how that would work really well.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be really fun. And also personality-wise, like Smith sort of seems like the yin to the yang of Jalen Green. So I think that's kind of exciting too. I like that type of, nerdy stuff.
Yeah.
So that to me is really cool. And look, that's it for me, mate. I think I won't
draft.
say. Yeah.
Let's draft done. Next step, free agency. That's where stuff gets real. Or stupid, one or the other. Apparently, the Lakers are going to be paying more than the luxury tax because every free agent is going to be in LA this year.
Oh, I mean, look, if you're listening to the podcast and you're not watching the video, you can't see me rolling my eyes into the back of my head right now. I'm just like,
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing who's going to
even as a Lakers fan, you must be sick of it. Exactly.
I hear it every year, and it's just like, just whatever gets done, gets done.
Yeah.
The rumor mill is becoming increasingly frustrating. But anyway,
let's move on. Let's talk about LeBron James and that triple Logoman patch that finished today. Because we have to talk about this.
Yes. Well, you put the post up saying, what does everyone think the card's going to go for? I believe I overshot. I said 3.4 million.
Yep.
I don't believe you didn't give a public.
Yeah, and I can't remember if I said this on the show or not. So, look, in my head, I thought it was going to go around for that 5 million mark.
I think you said it. I think you said 5 million.
My thought for
but we don't have it in writing.
Yeah, my thought was because wasn't there a private offer for 5 million?
Possibly. Or someone was saying that.
Didn't Drake want it for 5 million? So, that's I thought if Drake wanted it for 5, well, surely that was going to be almost like the opening bid.
I'm trying to think back to because we were talking about it when I believe when we had Brian on the show.
Yeah.
That the 5 million wasn't out of because of the people that were collecting it. I think that's when you said it could go for 5. You could see it going for 5.
It's funny you brought up Brian, right? Because he did a flawless break where they set up a program where they would open the 2 cases and then all of the cards would be sold.
Yes.
And the people who bought into it then got an equal portion of that in return. They hit an Edwards 1-of-1 auto, which they were projecting would sort of go in that 40K mark. It went for, if I'm remembering correctly, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, 15K. So yeah, it's very interesting that almost the ratio of that to what they didn't get is also similar to what they didn't get, 2 to 5 million.
Yeah. That's
on this triple Logoman. So has the market actually shifted that much and we didn't realize it?
Well, no, maybe, and this is just my hypothetical on it.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on this?
Maybe people are stopping paying future prices. I think the economic shift is simple. People are paying now prices for cards.
Yeah.
And look, if for those that aren't really strapped and have a little bit of extra cash to invest, might be a really, as you said earlier, I think you said it at the opening of the show when we on our trip over the weekend was it's a buyer's market.
I cannot stress that strongly enough.
And this is the thing: there are less people that have the cash flow or the spare cash to spend People are really starting to tighten their belts and paying now prices.
So something that the podcast that we came in from, this is something that Shane spoke about on one of their very old episodes. This is from a couple of years ago. They spoke about making a list, actually sitting down, making a list instead of going into breaks or instead of just buying, random cards that come up in feeds. Because if you think
a target investment.
Yeah, like if you think about your purchase history, and look,
Okay.
I fall victim to this. And I'm not saying that if you do this, you're wrong. I'm just saying, just think about it. How much of the stuff that you purchase is spontaneous or through breaks, and how much of it is like you actually made a conscious decision that you wanted that particular card?
The Kyle Korver card I got out of the $5 box on Saturday was a conscious decision.
There's nothing wrong with doing that, and believe me, I'm not criticizing it because I love.
No, you're right.
I love those spontaneous purchases. It's fun, It's and also sometimes too the cards that come up, it's a great deal at the time, so you purchase it because you think that in the future you can flip it for a profit.
Sure, but I think the point you're making though is if you focus your purchasing and are targeted rather than, you know what I mean, trying to win a random auto, you know what I mean. You're not.
Well, yeah, that. But what I was going to say was so now's the time to look at your list and look at the cards that you have on that list and see if you can afford them because the market has shifted that much.
Yep.
So
and it's also it might be time to there are some dips there, and there might be some dips worth exploring. I guess.
I suppose the question is, and this is what has been going through my head a little bit too, is if I purchase now, actually, am I going to lose another 10 or 20%? And I think that is a legitimate question to ask. But if you're purchasing for PC, I think that factor becomes less because you're not so much looking to flip, you're looking to put it away into the vault. Like, for example, the sneaker spotlight,
Okay.
Maybe I could have waited and got it for 300. Like that's entirely possible. But at the same time, it's what does it come down? It's come down 600 or 700.
Yeah.
Possibly more. So, yeah.
Yeah. Agreed.
Some of the other prices that were on the list was Damo said 200K.
Yep.
Ross Berman said 5,900,000. David Gibson said 6.2 million. Andrew Hewitt said 3.2 million. Martin said 4.2. And then David Gibson today just posted the actual number that it was sold for, which was 2 million. And then 2.4 with the buyer's premium. So who was the closest? Would that be Andrew Hewitt?
Yes.
Yeah, which is
not a bad little guess.
So the general consensus from this poster was going to go quite high. So really, it's gone for a lot less than what was expected. I'd love to speak to the person who purchased this. Was it Drake?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, good. Yeah, that's. Has Drake got his card?
Yeah,
it'd be interesting.
We found a Twitter post with reactions. So the post simply says 2.4 million initial thoughts. Post below. So this is from @breakoutcards with an underscore at the end of that.
Yeah. I was going to say there's not a lot of positivity in these posts.
The general consensus on this post is incredibly negative, actually. Yeah. So the top response: 100% manufactured transaction, failing to single-handedly prop up a hobby on a downhill slide. There is no legitimate reason why that cookie cutter snooze fest is worth that much. I am not jealous. I am suspicious. I mean, that's very direct and to the point. And basically the rest of the thread is, different variants on that.
Yeah. That's crazy.
The triple Logoman of Jordan, LeBron, and Kobe is there in the comments as like a direct comp. Yeah. Also, people are pointing out about how that the card was not graded. It was just authenticated.
Yeah.
What's your response to this Twitter feed, mate?
I don't understand what people are I get it. We had an interesting discussion about it, right? I think we had a fun discussion about it.
Yeah.
Talking about different ways we could manufacture, and I don't like the way that sort of that negative spin on it's been used. But
well, okay, fine. Say create then.
No. But that's like manufactured scarcity. It's not even that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to say with no assurance Panini won't make another one, what do you mean? Like, if the material exists or the jerseys exist, they can make another one. But in that set, it's a 1 of 1. And I think there's no need for negativity in this. This is a very special card.
Yeah.
And people were on a hunt for it.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to prop up the hobby at all. Who's buying this card? Are we putting bids in?
I think the people that can afford this, it's a pretty limited pool.
Correct. I'm going to go back and say, is there anybody that you actually know that would have realistically been able to put a bid on this? Do you know? Like, do you know what I mean?
No, definitely not.
Like, this isn't hobby related. This is a crown jewel kind of thing. Yes, there are cards that have sold for more than this. So this isn't the thing propping up the hobby. Like, this is just someone that's sick to death of hearing about the card and wants to be negative about it.
And look, there might be an element of that because the auction did run for 2 weeks, and then the backyard breaks thing happened, and then
that's the worst. That's the worst mob ever to have pulled that card.
Well, they actually hit the 1 of 1 of Steph, Clay, and Draymond too. So,
oh wow,
that just happened the last week.
Yeah, I know, right? It's just, yep. You can't script this stuff.
Again, I'm putting my conspiracy hat on here. Do you think that's a coincidence that happened, and also Luba was there?
That was weird. I don't know about a. Yeah, I don't know.
Coincidence?
You'd hope not. I hope it's just a strange coincidence. I don't want it to be a conspiracy.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be something that. No, we don't.
I enjoy conspiracy. I'm
looking at the Jordan, LeBron, and Kobe 1 of 1.
Yeah.
Like, that's a pretty card.
Yeah. So look, my thought about this is, I think something selling for $2 million is a massive achievement, and somehow we've got lost in that it's sold for less than 5, so it's a disappointment. Like, I think that's an unreasonable concept for me. So I think for me, $2 million, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Is this card propping up the hobby? I don't think so. I think it just shows how strong, well, yes, the hobby's slowing down, but at the same time, despite it's being on like a slowdown and the 50% decline and blah, 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 it's still sold for $2 million. Like, it's huge money. So,
yeah. I just look, and we all know about the negativity that the internet delivers.
So, moving into the future, do you think this card is going to go up in value, or is it going to come down?
I don't think it's going to move frequently. Is the person that just won it for 2.4 million gonna re-auction it?
I'm not sure, but let's say they do resell it.
This. Okay, they do resell it. What do you think?
Yeah, and you can also pick the time that it's resold. Do you think that it will go down in value or go up in value?
I think it'll go up in value.
Yeah, and that's how I feel too. And Martin, who was in our group chat today, that was his opinion.
Yeah.
Reading through this like quite negative Twitter feed, the thought was that the person who bought this essentially is like blown their cash. So look, I love Twitter. I love Twitter a lot, but I also do find it sometimes to be a little bit sort of a wind tunnel that can be quite negative.
Yeah, that's true. I don't see the point of the negativity. It's like, I think this is a big achievement, like a card that
I think
like, so. Drew a lot of attention to the hobby.
Yeah.
And it's been, for the most part, a lot of really positive publicity. Yeah, not every card that gets pulled out of a pack is going to be a LeBron 1 of 1 triple logo man that's going to sell for this amount of money. But that's what makes it so special.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, there are people talking about ways it could be replicated, sure. But isn't that cool that there's going to be another amazing card that is a literally a 1 of 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and isn't that the job of Panini, to create cards that are in demand,
that are desirable?
Yeah, like,
definitely.
That's their job.
That's their job.
Not for much longer, but that's
they have other jobs too. I mean, quality control is important. Did that influence into the price going down a bit? I would say definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, there was 2 visible flaws on the card. The card wasn't graded. It was just authenticated. I think that does matter.
Yeah, look, I think there are some definite factors in there, but I don't think this stops the card from, like, this isn't going to mean that the next time the card sells, it sells for 1.2 million.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I still think it's on an upward trajectory.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I think
And
particularly if they hold it for a very good period of time, like 10 plus years, I think actually we
10
might
plus
look.
years, it'll be over that 5 million mark. That's for sure.
Actually, that's what I was going to say. I think if we look back at this in 10 plus years, actually, is it going to be? I can't believe this sold for 2 million.
And it's like, this card just sold for 10 million, and you go, I remember when it sold for 2 million.
Yeah,
and people are laughing.
That's the thing about selling cards at the right time. Like, these people from Backyard Breaks are selling that card now because they want their money now. Doesn't mean it's the right time to sell the card.
Correct.
You actually could make the argument this is the worst possible time to sell the card. We're on a downward slide. LeBron isn't nearing retiring that we know of. He hasn't retired yet, which is actually worth waiting 3 years and then maximizing your return on investment.
Agreed. Speaking of return on investment,
talk to me.
It's been a while since we've done Zion Watch.
Oof. Let's go.
That was one of the things that tempted me on the weekend. I was actually very tempted, and it was a base, so I said no. But I wanted to buy Zion on the dip.
You should be tempted. I think, yeah.
It was a base. I was like,
the amount that he's dropped off is wild.
Yep. And look, it was I think it was a PSA 10. It was going to cost me around about the 300 AUD mark.
Okay.
So on comms, last sold for 205. So it's probably still on the pricier side of things.
Yeah.
But that said, it's like, if I'm being tempted at 300 Australian to buy a Zion base rookie card,
yeah,
there's something about that. And have you seen Mr. Zion?
Yes, I was just going to say,
Williamson?
So the context with this conversation is that there's been some social media posts of him, and he looks very...
Baby oil does amazing things when someone trims.
He looks in very good shape. He looks athletic. It looks like he's lost a bit of weight. It looks like he's toned up. He's still got a lot of muscle bulk, but that bulk seems to have, gone down a little bit, but he still looks incredibly strong. There's also some pictures of him playing pickup with kids. I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's probably not what I would want my, superstar doing in his off season, but
Yes. But that's now. I've just brought up the PSA 10.
Yeah.
Silver.
Yeah.
Because there's not much room on the base. The base is relatively steady, but we've seen, funnily enough, over the last few days.
Let's talk about the silver. Yeah.
It's only been a recent change of a week or so. Funnily, that with some photos on social media.
Yeah.
That from 1,410 sold on the 14th of June, sold for 1,775 on the 22nd. So there's a spike.
Are you looking at the silver PSA 10?
This is PSA 10 silver.
Okay.
So last sold was $1,775.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I got you now.
The sale prior to that was or the data prior to that was the 14th of June, and that was 1,410. So it's actually from its position 3 months ago.
Yeah.
He's actually up 22%.
Yeah.
2.5%. So it looks like people have moved on the silver.
Yeah. So if you bought the dip, you've done very well for yourself.
Yeah. If you bought back in February, back in March, you're probably happy with your investment.
So the interesting thing for me about this graph is that actually there's a lot of variability there, because on the 1st of April, he actually sold for nearly 2K, 1,992.
Yep.
Then if you bought it at the lowest point, which is the 1st of May, it was down to 1,000. Like to me, that's a very large variance.
Yeah. And it's not, we're not talking about the base, because the base has got, I think everybody's got a base, which is, except me. I didn't buy one, but the population of the base is at over 21,000.
Is it really?
Yeah. Then that's probably the other thing that deterred me over the weekend. I'm like, you know what? I'm actually not upset with the price.
Yeah.
But I'm one of 21,000 people that have this card.
Mm.
That's not rare. That's not rare at all. So
I think that is actually going to be a very interesting story because it seems to me like graded cards are getting quite easy to get at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And the prices on them, I feel like people who sent off bulk submissions, say 12 months ago or more, I think just say they expect to get $60 or $50 a piece for them. They're getting in that sort of 10 to $25 to $30 mark. Like there's been a real shift in expectation to reality. So I think that's actually going to be an interesting storyline in 12 months to sort of look back and say, like, did you do a bulk sub? Yes, you did. What were you expecting to get? I was expecting to get X. What was your return on your investment? It was Y. I think that's going to be really interesting. Actually, I want to get Matthew Uger onto. I did message him.
Yeah.
Because he's in that fishbowl, and I think he'd be very interesting to talk to for that perspective.
Okay.
Anything else on Zion you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I just thought it was interesting. Good to see him checking in, and working out, and making himself available for the media to show off a little bit.
Yeah.
But once again, buyer beware with Zion because he's got to take the court in order for those prices to go way back up. I hope he does this year. I really, really hope he does.
There's nothing being said that he's not going back to the court. So in terms of buy, hold, and sell Zion at the moment, where do you put him in that space?
Buy, but buyer beware.
Okay.
He's definitely at a price point that if he's on the floor, these prices are not staying here. Below $2,000 for his silver rookie.
Yeah. Because I think tapping into what you've previously said about him having the highest ceiling.
Yeah.
I think that you could still buy him now, and then as the season comes in and he,
the hype will be real.
Has 5 games in a row that are, all NBA. I can just see his prices exploding. Like we've already a 22% growth that's significant. And
if you can get it down around that 1,500 mark, just buy it. That would be my call on it.
Because if you think about what's driven this 20% rise, it's him looking in shape, which is not massive, but it's also not nothing considering.
Correct.
One of the things that influenced his cards going down was his alleged, obesity and
he's eating it, food addiction.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Look, I'm looking forward to the next Zion watch. I definitely think he's going to be one to watch this season.
Yeah.
Card wise anyway.
It's going to be very interesting.
I mean, we might watch the Pels anyway because we've got an Aussie in the team. So
I've got a little bit of raw stuff of his. I've got one numbered thing, so I'm going to be watching this space, but at the same time, I'm also not holding my breath because I feel like the point
we've been disappointed by this before.
No, but I just feel like the point that I jumped in, like the gamble was just like for me so low risk and.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. That's very fair.
All right, let's talk about you, Ad.
Oh, come on. Really?
Adam's
just
topic.
Skip the me thing.
So talk about your PC and talk about what you want to do moving forward.
All right. So I have been heavily influenced and considering changing the way, because my PC has been very stagnant, I guess, is probably the best way to describe it.
What's your PC?
I collect Kobe. I did have a couple of side PCs in Kuzma and Randall, and you can see the Lakers theme sort of coming through.
Yeah, sure.
I've got some assorted Lakers stuff, but it's mainly Kobe. So my cabinet with my slab stuff and some stuff that's not graded is Kobe.
Yep.
It's not the easiest player to collect, and it's also for me. I want to branch out, but I've never really been someone that sort of just starts that makes modifications to their collection.
Yeah. Why do you want to branch out?
There is, I think there's been times over what are we at 33 episodes now?
Yeah.
Different cards that we've talked about, and I'm like, and it's just I want to own one.
Yeah.
So Ja Morant was on my mind, has been on my mind a lot, funnily enough, because we talk about him so often it's not funny.
It's actually fun doing research into cards and or players or themes and finding a trend or something. At the
back of my mind, I'm like, you know what? If I could pick up a jar, that'd be awesome.
That'd be fun, yeah. Yeah.
The most recent one is a Steph Curry, and that's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
Because I do want a Steph. I want a Steph Curry rookie.
Yeah.
and a good one. So but now I'm like, well, what does my collection look like? Doesn't have to be my PC. Doesn't be my main. I love the terminology in the hobby. It's like, what's my main PC? And like, yeah, well, Kobe was my main collection. My personal collection is Kobe. There are people that collect, I know, that are set chasers.
Yeah.
They don't collect a player. But yeah, like I want to know what, with limited funds and limited space, what I want to, what goals I want to set for myself.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, it was just kind of something I was thinking about. I'm like, what does that look like? Like, what do I need? I know I need to move some cardboard to buy some cardboard.
Yeah.
That's my kind of baseline rule.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when I start making these acquisitions, what am I looking for? And I know we've been giving advice out for months, but now I'm kind of like, well, what do I go for? Is it opportunistic? Do I do what you said earlier and just write myself a giant list of stuff that I want?
I think that's the way you should start, definitely.
Yeah.
And, you can do it on your computer, but also I think it's kind of fun to write it down on a piece of paper. And then
just sit there and scribble and just like, I want this, I want this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or pick players and go, I want this. Like, I'll probably put Jordan Rookie on my list. Do you know what I mean? But it's like,
and then in brackets reprint.
Yeah, and the scribble it'll say Jordan Rookie, no reprints. And then what'll happen is the scribble will turn to, I'll scribble off no and the S of reprints. I want a Jordan reprint. But it is, and it's all based on like affordability, opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's good, I guess, from what I can see, and the way these markets rise, fall, and like demands, like different demands from different areas of the hobby. It's supply demand, and you can't just go, I want this one card, and that's the only card I'm focused on. If you do that, you will end up paying overs for it.
Yeah.
But having a list and going, if any of these present themselves, now I want to give some consideration to it. Just having something to sort of strive for.
Yeah.
For me, more than anything. But yeah.
So can I be devil's advocate? Like, why move out of Kobe?
You can be anyone you want to be.
Yeah. But why move out of Kobe? Because
I'm not sorry. I probably should clarify that. I'm not moving out of Kobe. I'm not selling my Kobe PC.
Yeah.
To fund my random player PC.
Yeah, I didn't think that, but like even.
But if I see Kobe's, I still look into the Kobe's.
So let me put it to you this way, right? So if you prospect, essentially what you're saying is you're buying into somebody who's not a known entity.
Yeah.
And you're hoping that the market comes good, because it's got nothing to do with player performance, what we're talking, well, it does, but sometimes it has little to do with that. What we're hoping is there's a trend. So, for example, if you're prospecting Bol, for whatever reason, he spiked hideously, and then if you were holding a lot of Bol and you sold it, your return on investment was fantastic. Like that's great. But there's also an element of risk in that, because I would say if I buy, say, 5 different prospects, like realistically, 2 of them don't work out, and sometimes 3 of them don't work out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
with Kobe,
we know what his career looks like.
Yeah, and also too, I understand what you're saying with that he's expensive to buy, and that it's hard to buy into that. So, is another way to look at it is to try different strategies. So, for example, you could buy the cheaper raw cards.
Yeah.
And then send them off to BGS, or send them off to PSA, or send them off to SGC.
Yeah.
And see if you can then get your return on investment, in that space. Is there a way that you can hunt through auctions and hope that you get one that, for example, the variance that we saw in the Zion PSA 10.
Yeah.
Could you be bidding low on, say, 100 Kobe auctions, hoping that 1 or 2 drops to you, and that's how you sort of get back into the Kobe market? Or you buy BGS 9.5s with the intention to regrade them with PSA, hoping it goes to a PSA 10. Like,
okay,
I'm just I'm not disagreeing with you branching out, but I'll probably also say too, like, you've chosen a very good PC. Like, what is your real reason to move out of it when, like, Kobe's literally the sure thing, or the definition of a sure thing?
A sure thing. Yeah. Like, this is true. Like, there's no market fluctuation with Kobe, I guess.
Well, I
Sorry,
think he's
there's no downward fluctuation. There's no downward trending with Kobe.
yeah. Look, I'm sure some cards like here and there go down, right? But
Sure,
like, let's be pragmatic about his autograph situation. The total pop count of those
he's not
autos
increasing.
ever.
Yeah,
So
no, he's
he's
never signing another
unredeemed,
card. Yeah.
all of his unredeemed autographs have all
Mhm.
been made into either points or white boxes because there was no stickers.
Yep. It's tricky. Like, I don't think this means I'm not going to collect Kobe.
No, and I didn't think you meant
And you're
that.
right. Like, no, it was more of I just like, and you know how you're going through a phase where you want to get certain players, like
Yeah.
one
So
you want
I'm
to
really interested
Bill
at the moment.
Russell.
Yeah, I'm really interested at the moment in all-time players. That's definitely on my mind. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think in my mind it's not the same, but I'm getting there's not even a soft spot for the player, but
Yeah.
it's like I have this tremendous amount of respect for this player. Steph Curry is probably the best example there.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like,
I'd love a really nice Steph.
I'd really like a really nice Steph, if not one or two.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you just want to diversify
it takes
a
a
little
lot
bit
for me to want to either have it as part of a display,
Yeah.
like to actually be, rather than I want to own these
Yeah.
pieces.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. Cool.
if the opportunity to own a Jordan rookie came up, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? That's probably the one. That's actually no. The one Jordan card I want is the triple Logoman with LeBron and Kobe. But do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Hey man, let's do this for our next episode. We'll put a list together of our top 10 cards that we covet.
Okay.
And also we could do it as a listener thing. That'll be super fun.
Yeah. Like, and this is a good way, especially with free agency coming, and
that helps you pad out your like thought process a little bit too. And I've always wanted to do that anyway.
And it's going to be and look, this is not Adam's going to get his top 20 cards hunt list done in a week and buying cards straight away. In fact, I probably won't make a purchase this year, but do you know what I mean? Like, on that kind of level.
Yeah.
But it sort of helps me sort of formulate what I want to do as far as what I would like my vault of not Kobe to look like.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, that was good.
All right, mate. That's a great episode. I think we should tie it off. We've just ticked
tie it off there.
Yep, definitely. That's heaps.
I think that was great. We've had it's been a good chat.
Thank you, mate.
That was I'm looking forward to it. I think we need to tee up a time and a date. Not this week, not next week, but we need to go into EJ's.
Yep, let's do it. It's a date.
I think it'll be fun. It'll be definitely fun. There's way more happening than I thought there would be in the NBA. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the season's ended, but there's still a lot to talk about.
I love the off season, man. All the trades, the signings, the draft picks coming through. For me, it's just as good.
Oh, we've got 2 seasons ago. Their rookie classes coming out and being released.
That's it. Yeah, and that too. Yeah.
All right. Thanks for another great week. I guess thanks everybody for listening. We don't have any winners. No winners to announce for once. It's been a while.
There is a small announcement. We just ticked over 3,000 downloads. So
that was good. That's an achievement.
Definitely. So thanks to everyone for taking the time out of your busy lives and your busy days to listen to us. We're incredibly honored and flattered, and we appreciate every click and every download. So thank you so much.
We have a lot of fun doing this, and knowing that there are other people that enjoy listening to us, aside from baffling me, no, we really appreciate it. It's fantastic. But we'll catch everybody next weekend.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.